Another beautiful day that we meet here on Morning Prime. Wakey. I trust you slept easy. A beautiful day it is today, Tuesday of 24th of January 2023. And you bang on time for Siasa Fiesta, where we slice and dice the political intrigues of the country. Yesterday was a big day for Azimio after Raila Odinga jetted into the country, heading over to Kamukunji, where he had his, of course, rally that they dubbed the People's Baraza Forum. A lot of issues that were raised here yesterday, one of which he says that the Azimio coalition does not recognize the government of President William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza. And also they're demanding a raft of issues, claiming that, first of all, that they have facts and evidence that the election of 2022 was stolen. Also, they are demanding that Kenyans be involved in the constitution of the IEBC. And we know yesterday the president assented to the IEBC Amendment Bill 2022. It's now law, and now he will be having the carte blanche of choosing the people who will be heading the selection panel for the reconstitution of that commission. A lot that we have to discuss this morning, and we'll be joined, of course, with our panelists momentarily to just slice and dice this. Joining me again this morning is Kipruto Arap Kirwa. I had to just hound him into the studio this morning. The senators or members of parliament are in Mombasa, and we saw yesterday how they were protesting that they want the CDF funds into their accounts, not their accounts, but of course, that is the CDF account into the wards account so that they can start working. And that was a bit of a standoff that we saw there in Mombasa, where they have the induction forum. And this is running for 2 weeks, and people are raising questions on why this induction is being carried out in Mombasa when we're talking about austerity measures as well, and why 2 weeks that they will be there in Mombasa. We shall be looking at that and a raft of other issues here on Morning Prime. But as always, let's put this horse into full run by looking at the dailies, beginning with the bold paper. This is the Standard, and this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the bold paper. Raila's bombshell that was dropped yesterday is the splash that is hogging, of course, the front page there. Kamukunji declaration. Opposition leader says Azimio will not recognize the government, calling for President William Ruto's resignation. He demands records of the last election be made public. But the president says time for threats and impunity is over. And you can see how they came out in force yesterday. Raila says we can't and won't recognize the Kenya Kwanza regime and consider the Kenya Kwanza government illegitimate. We don't recognize Mr. William Ruto as president of Kenya, and we don't recognize any official or official office with him. The demands also are tabulated here for you. Azimio rejects the 2022 general election results. It also rejects the legitimacy of President William Ruto and any officials who serve in his government. It wants their entire infrastructure and the records of the 2022 elections to be made public and calls for their audit by an impartial body. We have President William Ruto saying, quote unquote, "We're here to serve Kenyans. The half-bread you are seeking. We're here to serve Kenyans. The half-bread you are seeking, look for another person to threaten and not me. Look for another job, including your opposition duties, but we will not allow you to destroy the economy of Kenya." It wants any attempts by the president to reconstitute IEBC single-handedly stopped. Also, Azimio rejects the empty promises that are being made by UDA, calls on Kenyans to reject punitive UDA policies. It calls for Kenyans to resist and demand removal of punitive taxes. Those are some of the salient points that were raised yesterday. We shall also be unpacking them for you here with our panelists. Cherera 4, blotted polls, runoff. That is also another story that you want to follow on page 10. Yesterday was the resumption of the IEBC tribunal, and we saw the commissioners that now have exited also alluding to some of these allegations that are put here. The plotted polls runoff and factors that could affect Nigeria polls. That is on page 27. Nigeria polls are just around the corner. February is when we'll have the general election. Arsenal are running not growing weary. Arsenals are running, not growing weary. That is on the sports pages today in the Standard. This is how it looks. Make sure you grab a copy. Let's move on to see what the Daily Nation has for us. Battle Royale is a splash. Politics. Azimio claims Odinga won the election, but it was stolen in favor of Ruto. That is what the flagger is reading there. Cherera 4 held secret meetings, says Gulia is a sidebar story there. And just to read the sub-headline there that is related to the main headline, head-to-head, opposition leader Raila Odinga arrived in the country yesterday to a charged reception and delivered his bombshell on a disputed August 9th, 2022 presidential election. His Azimio camp will not recognize President William Ruto's win. The president accused his rival of stoking a political crisis in his quest for a quote-unquote handshake that he will not get. Who will blink fast in the supremacy contest? That is the probing question. 6 and 7 is where you can doggedly follow the story inside the Daily Nation this morning. On the sidebar, pay boost for civil servants after review of allowances. Pay boost for civil servants after review of allowances. Oops, I go back there. Here is where we are. Civil servants are set to receive pay rise after the Salaries and Remuneration Commission adjusted their housing allowances. According to the new rates, Nairobi-based civil servants in Job Group K, for example, will now receive 16,500 house allowance per month, up from 10,000. And this story, you can follow it on the back page of the Daily Nation this morning. Alarm Central Kenya suffers brand of alcohol abuse. A national investigation has established that consumption of alcohol in the region starts at 5 a.m. Right. 5 a.m. in the morning. That's way too early. While you're heading to the gym, someone there in Murang'a, in central Kenya, I should say, is heading to the pub early in the morning. All right, on top here we have the teaser, living on ARVs. 2 young women born with the killer virus share their life experiences. Also, why local farms may soon land 20 billion shilling state contracts. That is on page 9 of the Daily Nation. Arsenal silence doubters with the winner of Man United. On page 35 of the Daily Nation is where you can follow this story. Let's see what we have on the front page of the Star. Raila breathes fire, but Ruto unshaken. That is a splash today. President dismisses the opposition leaders' protest call as ploy to negotiate a deal. This story is on page 4 and 5 of the Star today. Ruto Gachagua moved to ground Azimio. Ruto Gachagua moved to ground Azimio, and we can see wooing Uhuru troops, President William Ruto and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua with Jubilee MPs from Central at State House, Nairobi yesterday. And Vanguard Africa was not involved in Raila campaigns, says Gidongo. John Gidongo has distanced Vanguard Africa from claims it served as Raila Odinga's election consultants in the 2022 presidential polls. Gidongo, an advisory council member of the American-based NGO, also said Vanguard was not involved at all in the production of evidence at the Supreme Court. This story is tucked away on page 7 of the Star today. Also, contractors paid 3 million shillings bribe to win Ministry of Health contracts. This is what the watchdog is saying. You are unlikely to win a contract worth millions of shillings at the Health Ministry without parting with at least 360,000 as a bribe. On a lucky day, you'll be asked for 5,000, but some have parted with as much as 3 million. 3 million, and we had this previous CS really talking about cartels. He will demolish the cartels at the Health Ministry, but it seems that is not the reality right now, going by what we're reading today from the EACC dossier. You can follow the story on page 8 of the Star today. That is how it looks. On top here, Stammerers in Western form support group to create awareness. Stammerers in Western forms support group to create awareness. That you have it on page 3 of the Star this morning. People Daily is up next. Raila Ruto open new battlefront. That is a splash. The complex game, Azimio leader jets back with raft of new demands, including for Ruto's administration to step down. But President says that is an old tactic and rules out handshake. Reforming IBC, now a hot political issue. You have this all laid out for you on page 4, 5, and 6 of the People Daily this morning. Legislators pile pressure over delayed CDF cash. As you can see yesterday, this is how they were saying haki yetu members mabado mapambano bado mapambano. We want the CDF members of the National Assembly protest during their retreat in Mombasa yesterday, demanding that Treasury CS Juguna Ndungu releases NG-CDF funds so that they could pay fees for needy learners ahead of reopening of schools. That story, you have it on page 3 of the People Daily. Another top state officer off the hook as DPP drops 1.1 billion shillings NHIF graft case. And of course, this is all about Geoffrey, the former CEO of NHIF. Now is off the hook. At a glance, let me just look at some of the rafts of issues that were raised yesterday, though you are intimately familiar with some of them. 2022 poll results. Azmi rejects outcome, says it will not recognize Ruto as president. Government opposition will not recognize officials in the government. IBC polls audit. Team demands forensic audit of election records. Also, new IBC team hiring of election chiefs must not be done by state alone. UDA policies, Raila says they have made life of many unbearable. Also reject new taxes. Coalition asks citizens to say no to tax measures. That is the story that you can follow inside the People Daily this morning. Taifa Leo, Raila atangazia serikali vita, ahutubia wafuasi wake Kamukunji huku akitaja mapambano mapya dhidi ya serikali. You can follow the story on page 2 of Taifa Leo today. Let's back down to some business. As always, mystery investors' purchase of Safaricom shares stops plunge. Right, somebody has come to bail it out, buying a chunk of shares at the NSE. That is now, at least now, salvaging the shares from plunging further. Traded shares jumped to 57.13 million last Wednesday. Huge buys comes after the stock hit a 69-month low. Right, selling at 21 right now. I don't know. You can see 22 actually is what the shares is selling at. Amid weak block purchase of Safaricom shares by an unknown local institutional investor has halted the slide in the telco's shares that had hit a 69-month low, triggering bargaining purchases. Nairobi Securities Exchange data shows Safaricom's traded volume jumped to 57.13 million shillings on January the 18th from Tuesday's 4.06, a rare surge for a counter that had witnessed sub 10 million trading for multiple days in recent weeks. Right? That is the angel investor, so to speak, that has come to bail out the shares here. You can follow the story on page 2 of Business Daily. Treasury banking on VAT in 3.8 trillion shillings revenue growth. The Treasury is eyeing value-added taxes as the segment with the highest potential for growth in its ambitious plan to expand revenue to 3.8 trillion shillings by 2027. Also, public varsities grapple with 38 billion shillings in employee arrears. TransCentury renegotiates 5 billion shillings loans after default, and Ruto administration to borrow 3.6 trillion shillings in first term. Ruto administration to borrow 3.6 trillion shillings in first term. President William Ruto's administration is targeting borrowing 3.6 trillion shillings in his first 5-year term, upending his plan to go slow on debt. The 3.6 trillion shillings is equivalent to 89% of the record 4.1 trillion shillings that his predecessor, Uhuru Kenyatta, borrowed in the 5 years to June 2022. And you have all that tabulation as well from different regimes, from Kibaki until Ruto, and the projection going forward. That is the source is Treasury. That is the Business Daily. We cross over now to Uganda, where Namuganza talked her way into trouble is a splash today that you're waking up to. Tough war. An overwhelming majority of lawmakers yesterday voted to censure Land Minister Paris Namuganza over, among others, indiscipline. But who did the rain, or when did the rain start beating the outspoken Bukono County representative. That is a question there. You can follow the story. If you're waking up in Uganda there, Uganda starts fast oil drilling is another story that you can follow inside the Daily Monitor. Body of Ugandan trader shot in Rwanda repatriated. Also is another story you can follow inside the Daily Monitor. In Tanzania, puzzle of Ghost College getting millions from government is a splash. Also major changes in key health bill. And 600 investors from Europe set sight on Tanzania. 600 investors from Europe set sight or sites on Tanzania. You can follow the story on page 2 of The Citizen. Mwananchi tamu chungu bima kwa wote is a splash. Lissu mguu sawa kurejea ndani ya siasa. Right, in Lissu. And him going back to politics in Tanzania. In Rwanda, Rwanda has done much towards sustainable development goals. That is according to UN Resident Coordinator. The country has portrayed huge progress even as the world grapples with cascading crises. And you can follow the story on page 11 of the New Times. Rwanda, Botswana police forces signed cooperation pact. And we can see Inspector General of Police, that is Dan Munyunza, and Deputy Commissioner of Police Femelo Ramokorwane of Botswana shaking hands during the signing of a cooperation agreement between the two institutions to formalize partnership in various areas of policing to combat transnational organized crimes in Kigali on January the 23rd. That is the New Times. Also, fugitives intimidate journalists, probing role in 1994 genocide against the Tutsis. And you have also a feature here all about education, about to reduce student textbook gap by 2025. All that inside the New Times in Rwanda. The East African this week is focusing on Russian question in Congo conflict, claims that DRC has imported European mercenaries to help it rout M23 rebels, have raised queries about commitment to a truce. Rwanda now accuses Kinshasa of preparing for war in spite of ongoing peace efforts, right? The Wagner, of course, fatigued men have been seen there or in fatigue, wearing fatigues. And this is what now the East African is really raising this question, Russian question on Congo conflict. Who are these people on the ground that now they're living or they've taken a long stay in a hotel in Congo? Survival of the richest as inequity skyrockets is another story you can follow on page 24 and 25 of East African. In the UK, The Guardian, PM admits questions need answering on Zahawi tax. PM admits questions need answering on Zahawi tax. Number 10 instructs ethics advisor to begin investigation into Tory party chairman Sunak under pressure of how much he knew about MP's penalty payment to HMRC. You can follow the story inside The Guardian this morning. Also, 2 inquiries launched into BBC chair selection. Richard Sharp's election as BBC chair is the subject of 2 separate investigations amid allegations he helped Boris Johnson secure a loan of up to 800,000 sterling pounds weeks before he was recommended for the job by the Prime Minister. You can follow the story on page 6 of The Guardian. Also, the middle-aged drinkers who love being sober, all about it on page 2 of The Guardian. The Times is up next. Met risks hiring rogue officers in online tests. Concern as recruits avoid interviews in person. And Sunak orders inquiry into Zahawi's tax avoidance is a story that you need to follow as well inside The Times. And Financial Times is up next. Zahawi fights for political life over tax scandal as Sunak orders ethics review. Tory chair under pressure. PM faces battle on 2 fronts. Appointment of BBC head also queried. And on top here we can see tank tactic. Poland move presses Berlin. And ex-FBI agent accused of violating US sanctions by aiding oligarchs. Deripaska. You can follow all that inside the Financial Times. Right, The Economist is up next. This is the latest, the African edition. Turkey's looming dictatorship is a splash. A special report on Erdogan's empire. Also, Disney's second century myth-busting young consumers. Incomes in America, how to find an alien. All that is tucked away inside the latest copy of The Economist. All right, the New African as well is out, and we have the 100, the most influential Africans of 2022, and the cover model for this particular edition of the New African is Lupita Nyong'o, Lupita Nyong'o, Hollywood Queen. Also, we have profiles of Francesca Chiegina, who's an opera singer, Bineta Diop, a feminist. Also, we have interviews of Akiwumi Adesina of Africa Development Bank, Kwamina Adukar, DB of Ghana, and the rest as well. That is the New African. Forbes, rise of the unicorns, the businesses and startups commanding billions or $1 billion or more valuations and building Africa's virtual marketplaces is another story to want to follow. Africa's offer the last great opportunity for exciting innovation in the world today. This is what Ham Serinjogi is saying, the CEO and co-founder of Cheaper Cash. You can see him smiling here on the front page of a latest copy of the Forbes Africa. Justice at last, Africa's battle for global taxes. This is all tucked away inside the African business. That is a splash. You can follow it inside the African business. And today is Etero Cartoons. Inside the standard, we have Gado, and this is what he has drawn for us. And it's all about Riggy G. And the way Riggy G, according to Gado, I don't know if what he's trying, maybe we can head over to also with our panelist. I'm holding court this morning, Kipruto Rapkirwa. Also we have with us Dan Mazo, who's the senator of Makueni. And also we are holding court with Isaac Maura as well. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
And good to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Riggy G is there. I don't know what you can decipher from that Kipruto Rapkirwa or Isaac Maura or Senator Manzo as well. He's really munching that roasted maize. Munch, Riggy G, and wearing that particular regalia of the DO, right? So it seems nothing much has changed according to God of Rigathi. Kwani, which crust that I can't buy? Then this guy is really wondering, ask them how much it will cost to rent it, right? So, well, the small rat there is saying, well, you can certainly buy roasted GMO maize. That is what he's thinking. What do you decipher?
Well, I don't know what to say, but I think
why is he munching a GMO?
I think it's depicting a number of issues. Not
GMO, but maize, yes.
Yeah, it's a maize, and it seems to be eating. And forgetting that some people do not have the same kind of latitude to eat what they wish. It seems not to have left the provincial administration, and therefore he still
he has a hang-up still.
He he has not improved on his table manners. So those are some of the. Because even if you have to eat maize, you don't almost put half of it, half of the cup into your mouth.
All right.
Yep.
So Isaac, he's not refined his manners. Does he, is being deciphered here, or maybe the way God is putting it is uncultured and uncouth? What do you say?
This is the initial onslaught against Rigathi Gachagua by the media.
By the media.
I don't think there is anything new. What is wrong with eating maize by the roadside? We all do so. In fact, it's very sweet. If you go to Darok, there's a place there where they sell you very nice meat, and you don't even need to add salt. It's very, very, very sweet. What to Narok? We need that maize in Nairobi. So I don't think there's any problem with that. It's just a caricature of trying to pass some message that is unnecessary. Rigathi Gachagua is a leader and is a great man of this Republic of Kenya. He is the deputy president. And as we speak right now, he is the senior most politician from the mountain region.
All right. Okay, Dan Mazo. I ever talked to someone who's eating Mahindi Choma? Yeah, the slaps and smacks. Unajua? Kwanza. Is it what is being depicted here? The slaps and smacks that is really coming while you're eating. So a bit of etiquette. I don't know. That is what Isaac has deciphered.
There's a little guy there who is talking about GMO maize. So you know Kenyans were not given an opportunity to choose whether to go organic or GMO, but he be the deputy president, as Honorable Maura is saying, and he's supporting and encouraging eating GMO maize. I think that's where the story is. Kenyans should be free to choose whether to go GMO or not. I don't think that opportunity was given.
Right. Okay, that is Gado inside the Standard today. The Daily Nation is all about cheating allegations, and we've seen that cheating allegations from exams. Now there's cheating allegations also from the Azmio camp, and everyone, you can see they're taking their exams in a class there. One is what they call dubbing, quote unquote, trying to crane your neck to look at your neighbor's, script so that you can actually copy it. And tucked away in their pockets, we can see that Cherera is actually tucked away in the pocket of Raila, and we have Chebukati tucked away in the pocket of the President Ruto there. Behind there is exams. I can't actually decipher whose face is this, taking exams there. We had the cheating nation as a headline, just recently. Of course, this was alluding to most of the immoral bit that we are embroiled as a country when it comes to marriage. But now also cheating is pervasive, is permeating every nook and cranny of our society. Looking at the elections, we're talking about cheating. Raila right now he's actually dropped his bombshell. We have allegations of also that this flying colors of age that we saw, some of nondescript schools that have not been known in this country, we have 100% transition of everyone going to university. Even the least score will be a B-. And people are raising queries and questions about the veracity of these exams. And yesterday also we saw an expose from the Star on how people were embroiled in corruption and papers were bought just before the examination. So have we also gone back to where Matiang'i took us from, that particular morass?
Well, there are a number of issues. One is perhaps they could be following standards. That's why everybody seems to be accusing the other of impunity. But that may not be entirely explaining the whole story. Of the schools that are doing well, there are two things that have happened. Question of resources that have been devolved from the central government to various institutions, and the capitation that the government has been putting in some schools, and some of them outright spending of huge amounts of money to change the standards of schools. The third issue is the issue of delocalization. Some of the principles that were taken from different parts of the country went to some of those regions and they improved the standards. I think a good research should be, we do an in-depth analysis of all the schools that did well, and we ask ourselves, what is it? Because we run the risk of condemning our children, and let me declare, I did not have any child doing the exam, whether at the lower level or a higher level. So I'm talking about it objectively, that we seem to be blaming ourselves for any good thing that we do. We seem to be shouting impunity about whatever your neighbor is doing, while you yourself is investing in impunity. Take, for example, many of the cases that have been dropped. Either the immediate former regime had a problem by taking people to court and arraigning them over sort of trumped-up charges, or the current regime is trying to sanitize some of their cronies who might have been doing fundraising for it. Now the jury shall be in once the two regimes are over and somebody does forensic analysis of what happened between Ruto government and Ruto Rigathi government. Because I feel at the end of the day, somebody must be cheating. Either the current regime is cheating about many cases that they are saying there is no sufficient evidence, and yet it's the same team, except that the Kinoti is not there, that took those people to court. If there was no sufficient evidence, why did the DPP take them to court? And the same DPP is now saying there's no evidence, and therefore dropping cases one after the other.
Latest being also the NHIF CEO.
Yeah, NHIF Mwangi.
Yes, 3 billion shillings.
Yes, and even some of the
tubes
cases
like
of tax evasion that some people are accused of, some of those people now are in charge of where the taxes are being collected. So it creates a very bad picture of ourselves. So we need to tighten up our engagement in public affairs.
Indeed, indeed. All right, that is what Kirwa can see. I wonder what also Isaac is seeing from that particular editorial cartoon there. Yeah, cheating allegations.
I think those are very serious issues, especially when it comes to exams. Leave alone the issue of
election exams.
We cannot. How do I put it? The issue of the Azimio rally yesterday was just to cover up for the information that was coming out from the inquiry. So I don't think posturing the two as equally true is not significant, because even the...
So you think it was a deflection?
It was a deflection, honestly, and a big one, because Gulia was testifying, and even I think today we'll have Kobe and the other people. So it's a deflection. It's really a deflection, because if you look at whoever is supposedly the whistleblower is in nondescript. They have even tweeted, I don't know why you, the media, are not highlighting, saying that they got information, but they cannot corroborate whether it is true, and it does not also lead them to a conclusion that the election was stolen. But when you start saying that Raila Odinga won in Kiambu, are you serious? I was there. I was the one in charge of that whole process. How can that ever happen? That Raila won again in Kirinyaga with 100. There's no way. Their polling station results were final. Even where Mother Karua voted, he lost. Even where Uhuru Kenyatta voted, he was lost. So let us not try to imagine. But I think there is a bigger question that the cartoonists would want us to address of us Kenyans as cheaters. I don't know if there's such a word. Huh? Cheetah, not cheetah the animal. Which, well, the new,
it's allowed, but it's not grammatically correct.
Yeah. Right, nowadays, English has really changed. They say cheaters.
No.
So,
okay. But when I was in school...
Yeah, there was no cheetah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I get you. And but now we say cheaters.
Yeah.
Now,
okay.
These cheaters, even in exams, is it actually true that 986 A's have come from one region? If that is the case, is it authentic? Whatever we are seeing flying on social media, can it be properly investigated? Because if we are going back to where people used to buy university spaces through getting an A by paying as low as 30,000 shillings, then that is highly compromised. And there is no way one region would have so many A's. If at all it is true. I don't know how authentic it is. I mean, right. I cannot say without a veracity and confidence that is the case. But if that is the real situation on the ground, then something needs to be done. And it should not go the tribal way, where it's like you are bashing a certain tribe. If for sure somebody did it, I don't think they did it on behalf of their tribe. They were just trying to make sure that children pass when they have not qualified, so that then this matter can be brought to book. Because if these are the same people that are ending up at the universities, I mean, I don't know if you have seen that, kind of a graphic saying that the best way to finish a nation is to compromise examinations.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Right. Let's hear from Dan Mazo.
Yes, I really want to agree with Honorable Maura and that script that the best way to finish a nation is to compromise examination. First of all, you disadvantage people who ordinarily would not have been disadvantaged, and then it means the moral authority of that nation is rubbished from the beginning. We must be raising a future generation of people who are competent and people who have not been taught corruption from childhood. When a parent buys an examination for a class 8 child and then goes to buy the examination again for that particular child in Form 4, and the child goes to university and then buys again the university examination, and the person becomes a professional, let's say a medical practitioner or a surgeon. You know now, when you go to operate somebody's head as a surgeon, you know that is an exam you now cannot cheat, and you are likely to lose a patient. There has been allegations of incompetence in some of these careers. Somebody has done very well in terms of examination, but when it comes to competence, they have no idea, what it means. So I believe this story of cheating nation, from cheating exams to cheating in an election, has really got to be thought about, and we must really taught children morals from primary schools. And a parent who is teaching a child to cheat is really spoiling the future of that particular child. So I believe that there could be cheating in exams. There could be cheating in elections, and if that is the case, then we really need to think again as a nation and make sure that we prepare future generations with morality. So I believe it's something we should get thinking from a family level to the village level to church level to the mosques. Let's have some moral authority in whatever we do. Let's not cheat in exams, let's not cheat in elections.
Indeed, and that's a probing question that everyone will be asking themselves, even from the lower primary, when we are teaching our children on the Christian religious education, also on Islamic religious education, on whatever other religious persuasion that maybe is being administered in our curriculum. Does it make any substantial difference in the character of our children? The social ethics that we were taught, how does it really contribute to, the holistic person who has a conscience that will become, a better, responsible citizen, that we may be able to start this flow of corruption and cheating that now is, steaming our economy in a way, one way or the other, when we have 1.3 billion shillings just going down the tubes because now there's no any valid evidence, but money is missing, yes, but we cannot really point a finger because the evidence that has been, put forward to the DPP, it seems to be sloppy. I think then our systems need to be checked at the end of the day. So cheating allegations, this is what Victor has drawn here inside the Star, not the Star, but the Daily Nation. We shall look at more from Ozone with our panelists. But I just want us to now latch into very, very serious allegations that were made yesterday from Azimio. And we run that story for us this morning just to act as a segue for our discussion here with our panelists. The bombshell that was dropped there, you can find it inside the Standard today. They are rejecting 2022 general election results. So they're saying the current government is not legitimate, according to Azimio, and they don't recognize President William Ruto as their president. So far, are we speaking of a rift that now will be a widening chasm as far as the supporters of Raila are concerned and the supporters or the people who are supporting the Kenya Kwanza government? Let's just listen in to, Raila really making this declaration that he does not recognize William Ruto as the president.
Straight after landing at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport after a one-week trip to South Africa, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Captain Raila Odinga once again returned to where he last held his public address at the Kamukunji grounds, this time around with a message to the country and the international community. And from the onset, Odinga said he did not recognize President Ruto or his administration.
We don't recognize Mr. William Ruto as the president of Kenya. We as Azimio reject the 2022 election results totally.
Mimi nataka kumwambia William Ruto na vibaraka wake, Kenya ni yetu na si yako.
Odinga, who maintained that his win was stolen by the team of commissioners at the IBC led by former chair Wafula Chebukati, demanding that President Ruto resigns and that he is ready to pay the ultimate price.
This regime and its unfortunate and unfair policies must be resisted, and the resistance starts today. Sisi hatuwezi kutishwa na Bwana Ruto na Bwana Gachagua. Wameiba ushindi wetu, hawataki waongeze na matusi. Sisi tunadai haki yetu na tuko tayari kukufa kupigana kwa haki yetu.
We want a nation that we can all be proud of, a nation we can bequeath to our children, bila woga, bila wizi wa kura. Tunataka Kenya yenye amani na tutafanya chochote kile kwa amani.
We fought and won the war for the new constitution, and we shall fight. We shall fight and win. We shall fight and win the war for electoral justice. I know the cost of freedom is expensive, but we are ready to pay with our lives.
Raila also refuted claims that he was forcing Ruto's hand for a handshake as suggested by the Kenya Kwanza leaders.
Atiyo jamani, watu ambao wanapenda mambo ya kufanya maandamano, ati wanataka handshake, sijui nini. Nasema hapa leo, sitaki mambo ya handshake. Na sisi hatuwezi kubali kwenda kwa kura ya 2027 kama hatuna reforms katika IBC.
Sisi tuko hapa kutangaza wale wanasema Kenya must move on. We want to say Kenya cannot move on unless we have electoral justice in the Republic of Kenya.
The Azimio leader also rubbished claims by President Ruto that there was a plan to assassinate Chebukati, asking the head of state to give evidence for his comments.
Kama anasema ndio nani alikuwa anataka kuua Chebukati? Yule ambaye aliua Msando yuko wapi?
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua also found himself in the firing line.
Kwanza nataka kuambia yeye alikuwa hajazaliwa. Yule ambaye alitetea Maumau na kutoa Maumau kwa jela ni Jaramogi Oginga Odinga.
And after today's rally, Azimio leader Raila Odinga will now be convening another meeting next Sunday at Jacaranda grounds to continue with drumming support for his Azimio team, as well as oppose the current administration led by President William Ruto. Emmanuel Tor, KTN News, Kamkunje grounds, Nairobi.
Of course, that is how it transpired yesterday. And we can see the reinvention of Raila coming from South Africa. People are saying this is a high time that he should actually now resign from politics and enjoy his sunset years. But this is the reinvention of Raila, as we'll hear momentarily, which is up next.
On the eve of opposition leader Raila Odinga's return from South Africa, President William Ruto, for the 18th time,
Wamezoea hiyo tabia, lakini we are telling them the end has come.
Raila says he is not interested.
Sitaki mambo ya handshake.
Raila has over the years mastered the art of political deals, pre-election and post-election pacts. His first attempt at occupying the house on the hill was in 1997. He vied for the presidency on a National Development Party ticket, coming third after Mwai Kibaki and Daniel Moi. Then Langata MP, he made his first political deal when NDP merged with KANU to form New KANU.
And ideas do move fast as their time comes. Hence this historic pact and consummation of merger today of our two parties.
His support for the KANU government saw him appointed Energy Minister and KANU Secretary General, replacing Joseph Kamodo. But NDP's political romance with KANU would hit the rocks after Moi picked Uhuru Kenyatta as his preferred successor ahead of the 2002 elections. Raila, who was among disgruntled leaders who quit KANU, formed the Liberal Democratic Party. LDP later joined hands with the National Alliance Party of Kenya, NAK, an alliance that was born when Mwai Kibaki's Democratic Party, Charity Ngilu's Social Democratic Party, and Kijana Wamalwa's Ford Kenya came together. NAK and LDP formed the National Rainbow Coalition, NAC. Raila endorsed Kibaki as the NAC presidential flag bearer in the 2002 polls and campaigned for Kibaki, who was missing from the campaign trail after he was injured in an accident at the Machakos Junction as he returned to Nairobi from campaigns in Ukambani.
The captain has been injured in the field. He's temporarily indisposed, but the rest of the team shall continue with the play.
NAC won the elections, ending Kanu's 40-year reign. But the giant National Rainbow Coalition boat would soon hit turbulent waters. Raila was appointed Roads, Public Works and Housing Minister. LDP did not get the cabinet positions as agreed in a pre-election MOU. Disgruntled, LDP opposed the 2005 draft constitution. The no campaign, symbolized by an orange, led to a resounding defeat of the proposed draft constitution. Raila and LDP ministers were fired from cabinet. The orange of the referendum saw the formation of the Orange Democratic Movement. Raila became the party's flag bearer after beating other ODM Pentagon members William Ruto, Musalia Mudavadi, Joseph Nyaga and Najib Balala. Raila gave his second shot at the presidency in the 2007 elections. In hotly contested polls, Raila came second after Mwai Kibaki. The controversial election results sparked post-election violence. Reconciliation talks led to the signing of a national accord and the formation of the Grand Coalition government. Raila served in the government as Prime Minister from 2008 to 2013 amid political intrigues. Raila, for the third time, had his sights set on State House in 2013. He vied for the presidency on a coalition for reforms and democracy ticket, a coalition which was formed after Raila's ODM teamed up with Kalonzo Musyoka's Wiper Party and Moses Wetangula's Ford Kenya to form the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy CORD. Raila and his running mate Kalonzo Musyoka lost to Jubilee's Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. Raila contested the results, but the Supreme Court dismissed the petition on a technicality. His defeat marked the beginning of a push for electoral reforms by code. The 2014 Saba Saba rally at Uhuru Park released 13 demands, including the disbandment of the IEBC. The push saw CORD supporters hold demonstrations every Monday for over a month. The efforts paid off. President Uhuru Kenyatta formed a joint committee of the two houses of parliament to look into the issues raised by CORD. An agreement was reached in August 2016 that saw, among other things, the exit of IEBC commissioners. Come January 2017, CORD and other parties came together to form the National Super Alliance, NASA. On a NASA ticket, Raila and Kalonzo once again faced off with Uhuru and Ruto in the 2017 polls. Uhuru was declared winner. Raila challenged the results and won the battle this time after the Supreme Court nullified the results. But 15 days to the repeat presidential polls on the 10th of October 2017, Raila withdrew from the polls. But the polls went on as planned. A rerun took place on the 26th of October. Uhuru Kenyatta was declared winner and sworn in for his second term on November the 28th, 2017.
Raila Amolo Odinga.
2 months later, Raila held his own controversial inauguration ceremony at Uhuru Park on January 30th, 2018, where he was sworn in as the people's president, something that was perhaps an indicator of the divisive politics that would rock Uhuru Kenyatta's second term. It turned out differently after Uhuru and Raila reached a ceasefire through a handshake, one that saw Uhuru Kenyatta face little opposition in his final term. Raila in 2022 made his fifth attempt at becoming Kenya's commander-in-chief. He was unlucky yet again after William Ruto was declared winner. Raila challenged the results. The Supreme Court upheld the poll results and Ruto was sworn in. William Ruto's government says a political pact is out of the question this time. Raila says he is not interested. And for the man who has been the face of the opposition for over 2 decades, Raila Odinga will continue to shape Kenya's political landscape. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
Right, has Raila gone full circle? That is what Rita Tinina has been, of course, deciphering for us there with that story. And looking at the Star, this is what Ozone has drawn just to be in tandem with that story. Raila during the Moi regime, Raila during Mwai Kibaki, Raila during Uhuru Kenyatta, and now the 5th attempt. The word is still no, no, no. Someone will say that Raila, when he went to school, he never learnt about yes in the English class. It's always no.
Well, that's interesting, but he's been vindicated in some of the cases, like the 2017. We went for a rerun, although he did not participate, which therefore means the process, according to the Supreme Court, was not fully in tandem with the realities of the day.
But let's not even go there. Now, I just want us to go smack dab in the middle of what yesterday was in Kamukunji. Him declaring he doesn't recognize William Ruto as the president. He doesn't recognize the government of Kenya Kwanza. Does it in any way take us back to, the people's resistance that we were? We have calls for other rallies that will be on Sunday. I don't know if it's in Jacaranda, and other rallies will be held in the country. Are we going back to where we were before? And the President William Ruto has been very categorical that Raila this is just a scheme for him to actually gain traction and extract some business benefits out of this. So it's all about Raila. It's not about the people. This is what the president is saying.
No, I think, Dibal, it would be dangerous for us to fall for the narrative that Kenya Kwanza has created, that Raila wants a job through the handshake. Personally, I do not believe Raila wants a job. And even at times when we speak in favor of the government, some of their bloggers, they say we want to join government. I think at my age, my experience, and my capacity, I'm not in a hurry to join anybody's government. I can stay the way I am for the balance of my life. Likewise, Raila has been raising a number of fundamental issues. Some of the people who are in power today are there thanks to Raila. He was able to midwife them from infancy to budding politicians to politicians of repute, and therefore gained some national profile that has taken them to where they are today. So to dismiss Raila on the basis of one or two wrongs that we believe he might have made is also misplaced, because Raila has fought for democracy of this country more than any one of us. Raila has been taken to jail because of political position he's taken. Raila has accepted to stand down for somebody 2007 to 2002 to stand down for Kibaki when he could have decided to run himself. So I'm not a Raila psychophan, nor am I his 100% supporter. In fact, to declare, I voted for Raila the first time in the last general election. But I think it is also wrong for us to start writing an obituary of Raila, because the way I'm seeing from the narrative of the media, from the narrative from the politicians from Kenya Kwanza, they are saying Raila is on the sunset. Sunset from what? A politician, you can only pronounce his obituaries at the graveside when you know this guy is now going to be buried. But any living politician, and I've given you the example of Abdullahi Wade, who became president at the age of 82, having tried for 37 years, 5 times in Senegal. I've given you the one of Joe Biden, somebody who was dismissed for 47 years, yet he became president of the United States of America. So in terms of political language, Raila, I may not agree with him in a number of things, but when it comes to issues of taxes, I agree with him. Kenya today, we have 18 taxes that cumulatively can destroy this economy. And we pretend that nothing is wrong. Kenya today has a lot of challenges in terms of restarting the economy. And yet, we are not seeing the bottom up that people are talking about. So Raila is a useful player in the politics of Kenya. And Kenya Kwanza, there is nothing attractive about me even being a minister in Kenya Kwanza, even for free. If I stuck with them, perhaps I would be a minister today. But I would be a minister who is embarrassed every day by the pronouncements by the president and his deputy.
I want to understand, what is the main motive for these rallies that you will be holding? Are you calling for a civil disobedience?
Well,
if you say resist, the punitive taxes, what form of resistance are you telling us? Not really pay our taxes?
No, but you see, resisting is also pronouncing that we are not happy about the taxes. They are legislators who pass the laws that constitute the budget that we have every year. But even those of us who are outside, we have a right to say the cost of living has gone up. The cost of petrol has gone up. The cost of electricity, because I personally pay electricity. It has moved. I've been paying 24,000 here in Karen. It has moved to 37. So how can I pretend that 24 to 37 is not an increase? The fuel has moved to 177 to a liter of petrol from 150 something. 20 shillings. Yeah. So these are some of the things that we must talk openly. And please, Kenya Kwanza, don't pretend that this government of yours is so attractive that each one of us is fighting to come in.
All right, let me drop in Dan Mazo.
Yes.
I'll ask the same question. How did we go about resisting? If this is what you're calling upon the Raila supporters to resist, what form of resistance are we talking about here?
First and foremost, there has been this ideology that, everybody must join government. And in the minds of a lot of Kenyans, is that by mouth they are multipartism, but what is in their heart is that there is one party system. So what Azimio is trying to do right now is to revive opposition. The current government needs serious checks and balances. Every little thing they do must be dealt with a tooth comb. They accused President Uhuru of messing up the economy and messing up a lot of things. But the truth of the matter is President Uhuru faced a reality which was all over the world. And now it's the same reality they refuse to face. They promised people that the cost of living will come down. It is 5-6 months now since Kenya Kwanza has formed the government. The cost of living is even higher. Kenyans have been very patient. Kenyans are really suffering, but nothing much Kenya Kwanza government is doing other than just to play around and for time to move on so that Kenya Kwanza may form government again. So strong opposition, and I think that's what Honorable Raila Odinga did yesterday, to revive the opposition of this country, to sensitize Kenyans. If President Ruto was really popular, there are no Kenyans who would have followed Raila Odinga at all yesterday. He would have been alone in Kamkunji. But you can see how many Kenyans came to Kamkunji. The truth of the matter is the election was closely contested, and there is every aspect and every chance that the election was stolen. I was in the election petition. We presented serious matters. One of the very good examples was a stream in a police station in the Rift Valley where Raila Odinga got 61 votes and the Honorable William Ruto got 109 votes. The final tally, of which is in the portal, which they are boasting about, was Raila Odinga 1 and William Ruto 169. That was repeated 4,000 times. And the Supreme Court still said that was not enough to upset the will of the people. Everybody admitted that there was electoral malpractice. Now, what has prompted yesterday's rally, and I believe it is not going to stop, and every Kenyan must wake up, the law which is being signed, which Senate dealt with on a special sitting, is a law which allows President Ruto now to single-handedly appoint the Electoral Commission. If that was going to happen, then it's the biggest disaster Kenya has ever gotten into. You cannot always have an electoral commission which is unable to man the elections, and it is always by design, by the systems that exist. So Kenyans now must be alert. I can assure you, Thwake Dam in Makueni has stalled. No financing. It must be financed because we need to irrigate and create a new food basket for Kenyans. If now you are taking Thwake Dam, the Arua and Chimorel way, then there's a very big problem in this country. So that's one of the Vision 20 flagships. We want to see all of them succeed. You have seen demonstration in Kisii of a road which is not completed. What has happened? None of the contractors who are putting the investment and money in roads have been paid. So now, when we have no complete roads, the truth of the matter is, other than a sweet talk, the country is really in trouble. And this idea of thinking when you put Central Kenya and Rift Valley together, you have the rest of the country.
Right.
It's very mistaken.
But
I can assure you Kenya is bigger than Central and Rift Valley alone.
Also, I want you to make it very crystal for Kenyans. What is the ultimate goal for these rallies? What is it? What is the goal? What is the end game?
We must change this nation. The government must thoroughly be checked. There's a lot of corruption going on in the government. And we are raising taxes. This country has a lot of monies. We are raising taxes, but they are going into pockets of new cartels, serious cartels, who are running, who are benefiting from the contracts, and they're taking the money and doing very little. Some of these road construction cartels are not delivering the roads. Electricity, contracts, electrification of the country. There are serious cartels there, whereby electricity to the people is not being delivered, but people's pockets are fat. And it's the same money which is used now to buy Kenyans, so that election seems to have gone one way. I must admit there are serious electoral malpractices in the last election. And the exiting IBC should stop pretending. There was a big problem. The election was not free and fair. And the moment President Ruto admits that, the better. The country must not necessarily go for handshake. We cannot always live in care governments like that. Handshake every other day is compromising the whole situation. It looks like a one-party system back again. So this time round, I would really want to urge Kenyans and urge Raila Odinga and the leadership of Azimio. Let's check the government of Ruto thoroughly. President Ruto should stop threatening Kenyans and stop threatening the opposition. There is a serious problem in the country he must address. Right. And one of it is corruption. He must tell us what is his way forward against corruption. If we see him fight corruption and fight his own cartels, then we will know he's serious.
Right. This is reminiscent of where we were in 2017 with the resistance movement. The people's president, of course, finally being ushered in there to Uhuru Park at the behest of us and the chagrin of the government of Uhuru Kenyatta by then. That was Raila Odinga. And still, we're going back there. Why aren't we all the wiser, learning from lessons that we may have gleaned from the 2017 general election? We take a short break. When we circle back, we continue with the conversation here. I ask also Isaac Mwaura, what will be the way forward from the Jubilee administration? I mean, not Jubilee administration, but the Kenya Kwanza administration.